What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today when I talk to you about NIO, I want to go over some of the current data points and break it down on why NIO did outperform the other EVs today. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, NIO closed slightly in the red, 0.25%. A lot of volume, so 39.4 million shares being traded, 43.4 is the average. So when it comes down to today, it was just a pure bloodbath. And so that is largely linked with a lot of big tech. A lot of their future guidance was kind of signaling a slowing, and that wasn't just one entity, that was multiple. So again, that's not necessarily the best. And plus, a lot of the data that's been coming out, even today's payroll numbers, kind of signaled consumers' buying power is diminishing. And so again, a lot of people are just seeing what Powell said 2 days ago and just thinking that for the most part, they're acting too late. Even though Powell did say again 2 days ago that 50 basis points isn't even on the table for the September 18th meeting, there's about 79.5% likelihood of a 50 basis point cut. So clearly, the market is completely against what Powell recently did say. And so yeah, essentially all of this boils down to people are assuming that a recession is coming. So not necessarily the best. Again, that's more so for the states and things like that. Doesn't necessarily affect NIO, but still, obviously it does largely get dragged down. NIO did have its own news though that did come out that was pretty kick-ass. So it does show right here that a supplier, so someone who did win the contract, is saying that NIO is working on a F3 and F4 plants. So I think in general that is good. Obviously further expansion and production, so much more is going to be coming from NIO. So despite the fears in the broader market, NIO is expanding. So generally very good stuff. Aside from that, NIO did put out news yesterday, nothing today, but yesterday they did put out their numbers. So NIO did provide July 2024 delivery updates, and that was 20,498 vehicles, a little bit lower than June's numbers, but still regardless, I think is moving in the right direction. So in reality, that is what caused NIO to go and spike like here, very much against the broader market and other EVs. So pretty much the only EVs that did fairly well was VinFast and NIO. Again, that's kind of based on my watch list. Lucid went down 4.5%, Tesla 4.2, Rivian 3.1, Polestar 1.4, and they're in a whole heap of trouble right now. But aside from that though, I think NIO did fairly well. You also did have shorts very doubtful about all of this because they did increase 5.98 million shares. 14.63% of the free float is being shorted. That works out to be 190.5 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 1.06. Like I've said in the past, shorts have been somewhat stubbornly sticking around with NIO for a while. They haven't done pretty much jack all. They did recently around end of June increase from around 13 to this where we are now, so 14 and change, but they have not been doing anything. So I don't know if they're waiting to pounce or whatever else, but as you can kind of see through IBKR, there is more than in excess of 10 million shares available to be shorted. So if shorts really wanted to double down, there's more than enough ammunition, and cost to borrow is fairly cheap, so it's cheap to borrow. So this is why I do like to analyze this information, because this is actually, despite them increasing almost 6 million shares today, this is bullish, because if not, they would be increasing tenfold. So that's how I kind of see that information right now. But aside from that, looking at options, 1.3 million in calls, 2.98 million in puts. And so just this one candle right here between 12:25 and 12:30, there was 1.3 million in that 5 minutes. So I'll go over that in a second. Sentiment wise, 48% overall was bullish and optimistic. So I'll kind of talk on that. But this big candle, so that 1 point something million, if we organize that based on premium, you do see it was actually very bullish. So as you can kind of see, a $3 put. And so generally that is very optimistic. So that's how I see that. This is why in the past, as I've stated, if you guys don't know options, options, highly suggesting researching them because they can be very, very profitable. Big money clearly relies on that. So yeah, do you guys' own due diligence at the end of the day. Moving on though, of the call options that are being purchased, you do see consensus for it to be above roughly $4.50. And then looking at the bear side of it, looks like people are anticipating sub $4. When it comes to institutions, even though there was a lot of transactions being done yesterday on the secondary market, there wasn't anything done today. So in reality, majority of the volume is just smaller transactions, as well as algorithmic trading reacting to the news that came out, as well as shorts. Because when it comes to this right here, this 5.98 million is net. So obviously you can kind of see that they were trading back and forth quite a lot today. So that is where the majority of the volume did come from. As far as right now with it at 405, and I guess after hours 404, it is trading between this S3 and this S2. So 408 is a very strong resistance / target. It did momentarily break above that, bounced off of this S1 as far as the high, and kind of settled right below this S2. So going into the next couple trading days, definitely watch for this S2 to hopefully be kind of easily broken and it stay within this range, and hopefully a recovery from here. If not, 377 is going to be the next strong support. So let me know your thoughts on that. Quickly going over to IBKR, I was kind of taking a look at all the articles that was coming out today just to see the sentiment and whatever else. But you also do see right here this little EX next to NIO. So it does show the SEC Rule 201, aka the uptick rule has been triggered, and the related exchanges have implemented a short sell restriction in accordance with their policies, and that is up until, looks like around 7 p.m. Central time. So again, that's only if a stock is selling off more than 10%, then this is where in theory shorts cannot increase their position, they can only return. So it wasn't really relevant for NIO today, but it's interesting to see that it was triggered largely because of yesterday. But moving on from here, so no new analyst ratings as you can kind of see, so relatively quiet for that. And when it comes down to the Elliott wave technicals, which has been very oddly accurate in the past, it does have a pivot point of 499. So for as long as NIO is below that, then it is anticipated to get between that 3 and 360 range. So more of a technical breakdown. So again, over the next several trading days, just take note of some of those strong support and resistance points that I did mention already, just for a potential recovery, because you do need it to get above that 499 pivot. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with NIO? And have you been doing options? I know I've kind of brought that up almost every single video on why it's advantageous and everything else. Did you guys dabble with it? And if so, what strike price and expiry date did you pick? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, take advantage of this promo. It has been extended up until the end of August. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.